Hey, friend, welcome back or welcome to the Trend Report. I'm excited that you're joining me for today's conversation. I'm Sid Meadows, a business advisor, coach, and longtime student of the office furniture industry. My goal is to share information that will help you and your business move forward each and every day. And I'm really excited about today's conversation as we dive into one of my favorite topics, sales, content, and thought leadership with my guest, Adrian Leal, a regional sales manager at Clarus. Hey, Adrian, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Sid. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining me today. We had a really fun preview conversation a couple of weeks ago, and this is literally like one of my favorite topics, and I'm excited to dive in. But before we do, I always like to find out how people got into the furniture industry. So tell us the story of how you got here into furniture world.
Sid, thank you so much for having me, first of all. And, it's a story as old as time. I grew up just wanting to sell office furniture. It was my dream as a kid. No, wait, never mind. Sorry, that's my script. No,
that's great.
Like everybody else, I accidentally fell into it. So I went to a private school in Iowa called St. Ambrose, which is about 35 minutes away from Muscatine, Iowa, which is where H&I is headquartered.
Yep.
Now, when I was in school, we were being recruited heavily by John Deere, by Caterpillar, and by H&I. And so when I was graduating, I thought to myself, do I want to sell farm and tractor equipment? Or do I want to sell some sexy office furniture? And I chose office furniture instead. So I got into the industry, started through H&I's leadership and development program, which is phenomenal, by the way. It is itself like a university for how to navigate this business and how to navigate this industry. They do a great job with that program, and I loved it. And so that's kind of how I got started. And from there, it just kind of took off.
That's
I
great.
enjoyed it. And they've sent me down to Central Florida to be the territory manager down there. Got to meet a lot of great people down there. And ultimately, I wanted more. So I was ready for the next step. And I ended up going to the dealership side from there. I went to go work for a Herman Miller dealership at the time. And I probably
in South Florida?
In Central Florida, in
Central
Tampa.
Florida. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And I learned how to sell within a span of 2 years, what somebody would learn, in 5 years just working at the dealership.
Sure.
And I'm sure a lot of people that work at a dealership will tell you that same thing. You learn a ton there. And then from there, life circumstances brought me back up to the Midwest, where we moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I had the privilege to hop on with AIS, which at the time they were moving to that direct rep model from the rep group model, and they kind of turned into a hybrid model. So I started with them there, and I spent a long time with them. So I was with them for about 6 years. And then from there, again, was just ready for the next step in my career. And here I am now as the regional director of sales for Clarus here in the Midwest, back home in Chicago.
That's great. Well, congratulations on your move to Chicago. And though our paths did not cross at AIS, I had already left when you came to work there.
Yeah.
But our paths did cross because of AIS. That's how I met
Correct.
you, I believe, and through mutual colleagues or mutual friends. And so now here we are. So one of the things you mentioned was the training program that you went through at H&I. And one of the things I will give kudos to every major brand out there, they do a phenomenal job at training people, whether it's on leadership or sales skills or product development, whatever it might be, right? The brands do a really great job because they have the resources to put together what I would call world-class training programs. And it's a great way and a great place to go and start, along with the other thing that you said, which is the office furniture dealer, because that's like baptism by fire. It's like, hey, here you are, you're going to be a draw employee for 12 months, and then you go on a straight commission, and you got to get out there and hustle, and you really find out what sales is all about and how to get doors slammed in your face on a regular basis, right?
100%.
I am curious, when you think about your journey so far, what's been like one or two key takeaways from the steps that you've taken in your journey that you think have really helped to inform or to help you become the person you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Sid. The number one thing is we work in a commoditized industry. So once I learned to take the product away from the sale and just really focus on having authentic relationships with people, whether that's On the manufacturer side, talking to dealer sales reps, understanding what the dealer sales rep is going through. These are people that are trying to make a living, that are out there cold calling, hustling, and they're doing that daily grind. So having empathy for what they're going through and approaching them in a way that's it's human.
Yep.
Right? I know what you're going through. I want to help you succeed as a human being versus, hey, look at my greatest product that I have right now. Now, on the flip side, on the dealership side, what was one of my favorite parts is I got to work directly with the end users. So you get to meet people that, or whether they're facilities planners, CFOs, CEOs, but you meet these people and there's motivation behind them. There's a purpose to what they are doing. And if you can figure that out, if you can get to what that purpose is and what truly is motivating them on this particular project, and you can connect with them on that level, that truly sets you apart from being just a regular Joe Schmo sales rep at a dealership or a manufacturer. It's like, oh, our product is the greatest because of this. Our services rock because of that. So in my journey, and you asked two things, but the number one thing, and it's one of the most important things, is take the product away and focus on the human being you're sitting across from.
So I think that is a very powerful point, right? And I, from somebody as young as you, I think it's a great lesson that you've learned very early in your career, because at the end of the day, people do business with people. And when you survey people in our industry and ask them about sales in our industry, they'll all tell you it's a relationship sell. But what I find really interesting about that is how many of those people that say it's a relationship sale that lead with the product, and they like vomit product features and benefits, right? When, to your point, we are very much a commoditized industry, and there's tons of competitors out there that have something similar or exactly like yours. And what's the thing that distinguishes it is the relationship that you can build, in your case today, at the dealer level or at the specifier level, or in the case of the dealer, and when you were a dealer, the relationship that you can build with the local end user. And when you get to where I am in my career, 30 plus years into this, you really get the ability to reflect back on those relationships, and the ones that really had the staying power, that just like really stayed, whether they were colleague or customer or specifier or whatever it might be. And I'll just tell you a quick story. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, my phone rings and I look down at the name that pops up on my phone, and I'm like, got this huge smile on my face, because it was a lady that I worked with that was a designer, independent designer, and I was selling at a dealership. And this was when I lived in Alabama. So this is a long time ago. And like, she just called me to check in, like, how are you doing? And man, it's just such a great 30, 45-minute conversation. And those relationships, I love what we can develop in this industry. But let's talk about, I'm going to bring this a little bit full circle. Digital is here. It's staying. Socials are here. In our pre-conversation, you mentioned that we're in a digital revolution. So let's talk about that for a minute. How does digital revolution impact relationship building in your mind?
I'm going to answer that for you, Sid. That's a great question. It's a topic that I'm very passionate about. But I want to get back to your point in when you got that phone call and how excited you were, because that's what keeps people in this industry. And, you hear this all the time. It's like, once you're in, you never leave. And I don't think I'll ever leave because of that.
Yep.
Because of the relationships I've built with everybody that I've worked with and I've come across to it. And somebody very young in my career told me that your net worth is your network, and never burn bridges, and always just continue to maintain those relationships with people. And it's really helped me in my career, but it's also helped create great friendships that, even though some of these old colleagues that I used to work with, I haven't talked to them in years. Say it's been 3 years and I talk to them again, we pick up just where we left off. And that's why I do love this industry, is because you have so many friends and connections that you just can't carry over if you were to switch to another industry. So just wanted to touch on that before I jump on this.
Before you go to the digital revolution, I want to, let's just stay here for just a hot second, because you're on point, right? Network is your net worth. And I mean, it is so very important. And I think back about all the relationships that I have and those names that pop up. I talked to somebody yesterday I haven't talked to in a couple of years. I'd reached out to him and said, hey, let's connect. And we talked about retirement and all that kind of stuff. And this is one of the reasons I love Neocon so much. I call them hallway
Yeah.
hugs, right? There are the two moments that stand out to me at Neocon. One of them was running into a deal or sales rep who I met when she was working at an independent rep. We sold AIS together, and I haven't seen her in 10 years. And I saw her in a showroom looking at a table. And of course, I just busted up in there and interrupted the sales pitch of the person. But I'm
You're
like,
Sid Meadows, man.
that's right. And
Google me.
we had that's hysterical. Don't do that. But we just had this great catch up. Her name is Angie Embry. She lives in Austin. And we just had the opportunity to like really catch up for just a few minutes. It was one of the highlights of my visit there. The other highlight happened on Sunday. And I'm walking down the street and I run into my longtime friend, Steve Lyons, which I think you know, Steve.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And Steve and I worked together at Hayworth back in the 1990s. And we just got to be good friends. And over the 25, 30 years of our relationship, we just have always stayed in touch and stayed connected. And I probably talked to Stevie about once a month or so, right? And so it's just really fun to see him on the street. And I got a big hug from him and I took a picture, a selfie with him. I posted on my Facebook feed. My son saw it. He said, Dad, who is that guy? And I grabbed a picture that I have over here in my bookcase of me and Steve when we were in our 20s, early 30s, maybe. And we were in London. And I just told him the story of my friendship with Steve. And I told him some of the things Steve had been through in his health crisis and how important it was for me to see my friend Steve this week, that week of Neocon, because last year when he was fighting his battle with cancer, I didn't know if I'd ever see him again. Yeah. Right. And so it was just so important for me to see Steve and to visit with Steve for a little bit and take that picture and capture that moment. And it just was interesting that my son saw it, but it's very much a deep reflection on the relationships that you can build because of this industry and because of what we do.
100%. And so glad Steve's doing well, happy and healthy. I mean, absolutely great guy.
Stevie, if you're listening to this, we love you, man. So we're going to keep going. So let's go back to the question about being in a digital revolution. And thank you for letting me derail there for a second.
Yeah, 100%. This is a topic I'm super, super passionate about because I've been posting on social media since COVID. That's really when I got started getting into it, meeting with entrepreneurs and just kind of learning how to do it. And it couldn't be more relevant today in our industry. And I'll tell you why, because every client that you're meeting with, whether that's a design firm, whether that's a dealership or an end user, what they're going to do is they're going to do what's called social proof. So whether that's before or after they meet you, they're going to go check and see what your social media looks like. They're not going to go to your website. They're going to go to your LinkedIn page, which may lead to your Instagram, which may lead to your Facebook. They're going to find you on social media. And if you have zero social media presence, if you're not out there being the subject matter expert in your field, you will not be looked at as credible enough. Or say another competitor comes in and does have a social media presence. It can be a huge differentiator and it can actually be a reason why you may or may not win a certain project. So it's not going away. If anything, it's getting more and more relevant today. So I would highly recommend anyone in this industry that hasn't done it yet, get used to just posting consistently on social media.
So let me ask you, I mean, the points you made I love them. And we are in 100% agreement there. If you're not out there controlling the narrative and putting out content, your competitors are controlling the narrative. Your competitors are doing it. But how did you get into it? Like you said, you started at around 2020. What was the thing that said, okay, I'm going to start creating content and creating video, because you took the leap into video, which scares a lot of people. I mean, what was that catalyst for you?
Honestly, well, in 2020, what we were all doing, it was COVID, right? We had a lot more time on our hands. And I've always been really passionate about sales. And I always tell people all the time, hey, people like to golf. I like to talk sales strategy. That's just my hobby. And that hobby's kind of turned into now public speaking, making videos. It's just something I'm really passionate about. And I know that a career in sales can be so rewarding, but it is so stressful. And I was so passionate about just reaching back down to kind of younger sales reps and really showing them a way, like the fundamentals of how they can create some sort of success in a sales career. So that was my original passion. And I wanted to get the message out. And I thought the best way to do that was to jump in front of a camera to start talking about random topics like presentation skills, how to generate buy-in. I'm talking fundamentals here. And I just started posting them on YouTube. I started posting them on TikTok and then on Instagram and on Facebook. And then I got the courage to then start posting them on LinkedIn. Cause you never know, with people you work for and how people are going to perceive you on LinkedIn. So I was doing it on my personal socials, and then I finally did it on my professional one. And it just kind of took on a life of its own from there. And Sid, I'll tell you this, whether I have 1 follower, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers, I'll never stop doing this because I do it for myself. I get a joy out of this. It's like a rush of dopamine of getting in front of the camera, sending the message out, posting it. It's just thrilling. It's exciting. And I enjoy doing it. And another factor too, I start to think about, I have 3 kids. So maybe one day my daughter is 16 or 17, 18, thinking about taking on a career in sales, and she finds some of my videos online. So I kind of look at it that way, as like a little time capsule for my kids, that maybe they'll find these sometime down the road when they're kind of getting into their careers.
So I love that, because I think very much the same way you do about my kids who are now young adults, that I am hopefully leaving them a gift. So I'll give a perspective. My dad passed away when I was 27 years old. And so he's been gone longer than he was alive, right? Mm-hmm. At least in my life. And so I have very few memories. There's really no videos of him because video wasn't a thing back then, right? And so I think about the gift that this is, my YouTube channels, because I have a couple of them, right? Even though I'm just posting this type of content, I think about my TikTok, and when I do post TikTok and those other things, they live there. And so I do think about the ability that my kids to one day be able to go back even to their kids, right? And to share a little bit of me. So I think that's a really, really important legacy, if you will, that we are building by doing that kind of stuff. But I also think that it's important to understand what you want to talk about and why you want to talk about it. And you said you want to talk about sales. You want to reach behind you to help people that are younger than you coming up in and like sharing some of the struggles and things, which is really, really important. So how do you decide on content to talk about? Is it like a feeling, or do you have a list running? Like, I'm going to talk about this, this, and this. Like, how do you decide what you want to talk about?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sid. And it's 2 things. One, it's a feeling. Sometimes I feel really passionate. It's like, hey, I need to talk about this because it's things that I've just seen, stuff that's just been going on in life. And you, especially if you're on social media, you see what's going on LinkedIn, you see what's going on TikTok. So you start to pick up on trends and what's happening. And so a lot of that is a feeling. So sometimes I'll jump on and I'll record, and I call them spitballs. Instead, I will literally pretend like I'm in a podcast studio, like I have a whole crew. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about that. And boom, boom, 3, 2, 1, record. And I just start spitballing on a topic that I'm really passionate about. So that's number 1.
Yep.
Number 2, yes, I do have specific topics that I want to cover. And it's all based on what I've recently read. So one of the things that I wanted to do to elevate my content was to get new information, new knowledge. And the best way to do that is to read books.
Yep.
Growing up, I hated reading. I'm not sitting here and like I can read books now, and and I've always loved reading books. That's not true. My dad used to punish us by telling us to go to our room and read a book. That was our punishment.
Yeah.
Because he knew how much we didn't like reading. Fast forward to today, I've found a new enjoyment in reading. And so what I do is I'll take like 2 or 3 books. I try and read at least 20 to 25 books a year. And I take extensive notes when I read. Like in every chapter, I take extensive notes. And what I'll do is if there's a topic within a chapter that I'm like, ooh, I can talk about this, and it'd be perfect for LinkedIn, be perfect for personal, right? For Facebook, Instagram, and I'll highlight it blue, right? And then I'll put on my PowerPoint that I have running scripts on, I'll say, page 18 in my notes, this is what I'm going to post about.
Sure.
And so typically when I'm recording, I don't have a lot of time to record. So it'll be like on a Saturday, and I'll take 4 hours, and I have a list of 20 topics. Maybe 10 of them will make them into my content, but 20 topics that I for sure have 1, 2, 3 bullet points. And if you've seen some of my videos, you've seen some where I'm spitballing and you've seen some where I'm like, number 1, number 2. That's how you know the difference of, okay, this is a passion topic for him. Okay, this is a practical topic for him.
So you've got a process that you developed over time to figure out how to create these videos and how to do this. And batch recording is what you just talked about. And then you take and you go and edit and you go and do, right? So, and people listening might just get overwhelmed at that because batch recording and editing videos is not for everybody. It is not for me. I do not do that. I tried and I suck at it. So for me, I'm a one take person.
Okay.
Now, I might record the video 15 times before I get one take, but very much along with you, what you said earlier was it's a feeling. Like I have this feeling like this is a message I want to share. And a lot of my ideas come from reading, come from podcasting, right? And listening to podcasts because I'm a huge consumer of podcasts. And so I did one of these the other day and it was my Taylor Swift video. And it was an afternoon walk versus a morning walk. At the end of 4.5 miles, I'm at a pace of a little under 17 or right at 17 minutes a mile, which is fast for old people like me. And so I'm sweating. I got my baseball cap on. I got my sunglasses on, but I just listened to one of my favorite podcasts, which is called, oh my gosh, I just totally lost the name of it. It'll come to me in a minute. Oh, Finding Mastery is the name of the podcast with Dr. Michael Gervais. And he is a sports clinical psychologist. And he's interviewing this guy who wrote a book about Taylor Swift and the lessons you can learn from Taylor Swift. Whether you like her or not is completely irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
The messaging. And so I was moved by what this guy said. And so I'm like, I have to do this. I grabbed it, my phone. I took one recording and I'm like, I like that one. So then I took another. I'm still walking, mind you. And so I do it. Okay, that one's great. I get home and I watch it. And I'm like, okay, that's really good. It hit all the points, right? I got everything in that I wanted to get in. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, good golly, Sid. I'm drenched in sweat as I'm talking, like there's sweat dripping down my nose onto my shirt. My shirt is soaking wet, but I got it out and it did really well. And I think the raw and realness of it is what people really resonate with because I'm going to call them curated, quote unquote, curated videos that are so professionally done.
Right.
People scroll right by. And so I think being in the moment, having that feeling, creating the content is so very important. And just do it. Get your message out there. But let's talk to the people for a minute that are like, I ain't creating content. I have one that works from home upstairs. She is being forced in her new job to create content and she's hating every minute of it. Mind you, I'm talking about my wife, guys. So she had to post on LinkedIn this week and it's the first time she posted in a year. And I'm like, she goes, yeah, I'm not a content creator. So what encouragement, Adrian, would you give to people that are hesitant about posting and, to get out there and put their message out there? What encouragement would you give them?
The best thing I would say, Sid, is what's the worst that can happen? Like really truly think about what is the worst thing that can happen by you posting something on social media. And if you're passionate about a topic and you want to talk about it and you want to post it, just do it.
Yep.
I think a lot of times we just not just at work, but this is in life. I just finished reading a book called The Courage of Being Disliked. And because I like to pair my sales skills, I like to pair kind of what I do with work, but also with mental health stuff, because there's a lot of mental health issues that happens to sales reps because it is stressful. There's a lot of anxiety. So what I will say is stop caring about how you will be perceived. Stop caring about what people will think about you and just do it. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. It's easier said than done. But once you start doing it, it starts to become a habit. Then you do the second video, then you post the next one, and then it just starts to become a ritual. And you start to think to yourself, man, why did I care so much about how this was going to be perceived? If you have a topic you're passionate about, make a video, post it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm totally in agreement with you. So The Courage to Be Disliked, I believe you told me about that book.
Yeah.
when we had our pre-call, and I am about halfway through listening to it. A phenomenal story,
It's
right?
awesome.
And lots of lessons there. And I think understanding that you can get content from a multitude of places, you don't have to create it all on your own or come up with the idea on your own, right? Is really important. Books, podcasting, the radio, I mean, wherever, right? So many great places. But let's stay here for just a second and share with the listeners, what is your definition of SME? Because you mentioned that as an acronym earlier, right? And then tell us what your definition of thought leadership is.
Yeah. I'm going to go with SME. This is called subject matter expert. And it's very important, especially if you're posting content or if you are trying to differentiate yourself in your field, and whether that's in our industry. But a lot of times when I talk about subject matter expert, it's usually when I'm talking to real estate agents, because everybody's a freaking realtor, right? Everybody has a real estate license. I mean, it's true, but only really 1% of realtors have success because they've been able to figure out this one thing. And that's, I'm going to become the subject matter expert when it comes to real estate, which means I'm going to learn all the trends that are happening right now. And I'm going to educate all the buyers on my social media, whether that's LinkedIn, TikTok, right, YouTube. I'm going to educate people on everything that's happening in real estate. I'm going to educate people on trends, on current inflation rates, all as many things that you can talk about and then have passion behind it. Then when it comes to finding prospective buyers or finding clients, and then they social proof you, then they go out and look at your social media, you're now looked at as the subject matter expert. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's more credible. I'm going to go with him. I trust him more. Listen, I'm no sales expert, right? But I've posted enough and I've made enough videos within the last 5 years that I can be considered a subject matter expert when it comes to marketing and sales. And so that's all because of the work that I've done. It's because of the content that I've posted. And so if you're at a dealership or you're at a manufacturer and you can't think about what to post about, start talking about the industry in general. Start talking about certain trends, whether that's work from home, hybrid. Talk about markets that are hot, like verticals, healthcare, education. There's a plethora of subjects to talk about in our industry that you can just post about.
Yep.
And it can be generic, and you start to become a subject matter expert in this industry. So then when you go into your next meeting, you give that next presentation, you're like, man, this guy knows what he's talking about, or this girl knows what she's talking about, because you've built that credibility, you've built that base.
So 100%. And I was writing a couple of things down that you talked about. And I think the real estate analogy is very important and on point. So you basically, and I'm going to reframe this in my way, right? Create content on the topic that you're passionate about, not your product, right? Not your product.
Not your product.
Yeah, not your product. Talk about the trends, the things you just mentioned, like the trends in healthcare, trends in hospitality, trends in education, right? Talk about an experience that you had in a sales environment, right? Talk about being told no. People like to connect with the human side of you, not the professional, but create content. Then that leads to authority, right? You're an authority in your space. Then you're discovered by people who are looking for information around the content that you're talking about. Then that leads to opportunity, which then leads to a sale. So that's the through line of how content creation can lead to sales, or I call them digital sales strategies, because it's real. I can tell you, I can tell you probably the number of people that have reached out to me that have I've either given a quote to or I have worked with that said, one of them most recently, and I coached her for quite a while, and she said, I've been listening to your podcast. I've been consuming your content for some time now. I'd like to talk about working with you as my coach.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not the intent of my content, but it leads to that because it leads to authority and to discovery. And again, don't talk about your product.
Let's stay there, Sid, because you're spot on. And a lot of people, especially my friends and even some colleagues, they've seen me post for years and they think, oh, are you trying to get, Insta famous? Are you trying to get, money off of TikTok? And that's not the goal. The goal, listen, would it be cool for one video to go viral and start making money? Yes, of course. But that's not what I'm doing it for.
Right.
Just like you said, you're doing it because there'll be someone that'll approach you, whether that's a phone call, an email, or direct message. Hey, love what you're talking about. Love your content. Would love for you to talk to my team. Would love to just spitball with you. And it just leads to more opportunities. And it's helped me a lot in my career. Like even when I was at AIS and even today with Clarus, because of the content that I post, people now that I meet with, whether it's a dealership or a design firm, even a school, they see my LinkedIn and immediately walls come down because they're like, this guy's posting content. He knows what he's talking about. So I have a different presence in the room.
Yep.
Because of the authority that I created, like you said, right? Because of me positioning myself as a subject matter expert in this field.
And at the end of the day, the people that are consuming, like your goal here is you got to stop the scroll, whatever platform you're on, because most people scroll social media with the audio off. So if you're a video creator, you got to have a hook or something on the screen that makes them want to stop and turn on the volume or hit the unmute button, right?
Right.
But it's about just getting engagement, and nobody really wants to hear you pitch a product.
No.
They just don't want to hear you pitch a product. And we've spent a lot of time talking about video content, but before I go to my next question, I want you to go back and answer the question about how do you define thought leadership?
And Sid, I'm going to answer your question with a question. I actually want to hear what your thoughts on thought leadership are, because everyone's got different, right? And I'm really curious on yours, and then I'll answer yours.
So this is not a podcast takeover, by the way. So I don't answer questions.
You see what I did there?
I'm just kidding. So thought leadership is something I'm really interested in and something that I do. I never really thought about it that way. A little bit of play on words there, but it is simplest form, in my opinion, is you have a thought or an idea about a specific topic that you're passionate about, and then you share that with the audience, whether it's video, audio, written, whatever it might be, and you share that, and that is leadership. You're leading in a category, you're leading a conversation about something. And so you have a thought and an idea, and then you share it, which is leadership in the way. So that's kind of how I define it. How do you define it?
100%, Sid. It's the same exact thing. For me, I've always looked at thought leadership as just being a leader without having a title.
Correct.
Right. And finding a topic that you're authentically passionate about. And I always tell people that are in sales or whatever they are selling is find what you're passionate about and what you do. And that resonates with clients. Like when you're sitting across from people, they can feel that passion. They know whether or not they're being sold to. So when it comes to thought leadership, find a topic that you feel strongly about. For me, it is sales and mental health. It's 1 and 2, right? Because sales is hard and you go through a lot of mental health issues with sales. So how do I pair the two?
Yep.
Right? How do I be a thought leader in this topic where I can share with you the blocking and tackling of how to have generic success in sales, but here's how to tackle the mind fuck that you will have when you're going through challenges in sales. So over the years, I've kind of paired the two.
Yep.
In some topics, when I talk more on the mental health side and we talk about more kind of the brain and how to really focus on working on yourself and finding self-acceptance so that then you can be a more confident sales rep, those are starting to resonate more and more with my audience than the standard blocking and tackling posts of like, here's how to present, here's how to cold call. People really, especially the younger listeners, when you add that mental health piece to it, because it's what they're going through, there's so much stress involved and they want to make all this money and they don't realize the amount of work you have to put in. So that's exactly how I look at it as well. And I just find two things that I'm really passionate about. I paired the two and I just want to be a leader in that subject and in that space.
So hopefully one day I'm going to have Cheryl Durst, who's the president of IIDA, on the podcast. And I asked Cheryl, I think I've mentioned this before, when I saw her at BIFMA, I asked her about what I believe to be one of the biggest challenges facing our industry today, which is getting in front of the A&D community. How do you get in front of them? Lots of people have tackled this and have provided content around it, right? I've written about it. I've talked about it, specifically had, podcast shows about it. I've been on panel discussions about it, right? It's a really big issue in our industry. Like, how do you get in front of the A&D community? And I asked Cheryl this question and I said, I'd really like to have you on the show to talk more about this, because if there is a design figure in our industry that is recognizable, she is it, right? And her answer to me was very simple. How do you get in front of the design community? And she said, thought leadership.
100%. 100%.
And it's about being discovered. Like, it's being discovered because of the topic that you're talking about, because everybody's got some social platform or multiple social platforms. They look at least once a day, sometimes at night, whatever. And you have the opportunity to be discovered because of your content by an interior designer that you that really needs to know you, and that you really need to know, that's working on a project, and she sees you and then she reaches out to you. So there's lots of opportunity here that I think exists for people to get into the game. So almost my last question, because we're running out of time. What do you think is holding people back from getting into being a thought leader and publishing content? Because if you just use LinkedIn specifically, we don't have a lot of voices in our industry that are talking.
No.
We have a lot of people trying to post product pictures and sell product, but we don't have a lot of people really creating thought leadership. You could count them on two hands, right? And our industry needs more voices, needs diverse voices, right? So what do you think is holding people back?
This is a great topic to end our conversation on. And what's holding everyone back is this confidence, Sid. People have the knowledge and expertise, and somebody can be much smarter than me, but I have the courage to post. I have the courage to put myself out there. They don't. That's the biggest difference. Is a lot of people today, they can have the best education ever, but if they don't believe in themselves, it doesn't matter. You can go to Harvard, you can go to Princeton University, you can go to an Ivy League school and be the smartest person. But at the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself, if you look in that mirror and you don't trust that person across from you, you don't believe in that person across that you're seeing in that mirror, it doesn't matter. All this other stuff doesn't matter. And so in a lot of my talks and a lot of my presentations that I do, I try and spend some time talking about how it all starts with you. It all starts with what's happening between your ears. Because if you don't take the time to work on yourself, to work on your self-acceptance, right? Being able to accept who you are and figuring out what your strengths are, being honest with what your weaknesses are. If you can't do that, then you won't have the confidence to be able to post content. You'll be the ones posting pictures of photos and copying out and not putting yourself out there. And Sid, like I said, it's not that there's a lack of knowledge. It's not that there's not people out there that are experts. There's a ton of them. I've met them in person that are much smarter than me. It's just giving them the confidence and the encouragement to just go and make that video, go and post. And I hope that what you're doing, what I'm doing, and other people in our space, I hope that we encourage somebody watching this today or somebody watching a bit of content to say, you know what? I'm going to just go record something that I like, something I'm passionate about, I'm an expert on, and just see what happens. As we get more people to do that, then we'll have more thought leadership or more thought leaders in this industry.
I love everything that you said, and you're spot on. It's a great place to end it. I'm going to wrap it with a little bow that says, have the confidence to get out there, push through the fear, because the first couple of times, it's going to be fear. You're going to be like, oh crap, that's awful. What are people going to say, right? Whatever kind of content it is. But just remember that consistency compounds. And the more consistent that you are in creating whatever type of content that you want to create, you're going to get better at it. Please don't go back and read the first article that I ever wrote for one of the industry magazines. It was god awful. Please don't go back and listen to my first ever podcast episode, because the growth in both my writing and my podcasting is phenomenal because I kept doing it. Just be consistent. If you need to learn, go and research about certain things, because the more you do, the better you're going to get. Just like an athlete, the more you practice, right, the better you're going to get at your chosen sport. So lean in, be confident, push through the fear, and then just keep doing it, because the payoff is going to happen. It just doesn't happen overnight, right?
Spot on, Sid. I love that take.
Yeah, Adrian, thank you so much for being here today. I've loved every bit about this conversation. Again, it's one of my favorite topics, sales and content creation, thought leadership. And we drew the through lines, and I hope everybody listening understood what we were talking about, how creating can lead to opportunities that lead to sales. Adrian, again, thank you, dude, so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and have you share your insights with our community. If our community would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, LinkedIn's number one. I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can search me. My profile's open. My contact information's on there. It'll show you, from there, it could even take you to my YouTube, my TikTok, all my socials. So
That's great.
LinkedIn is the best form to find me.
I will be sure to drop a link to his LinkedIn profile, email address, all that good stuff down in the show notes. Just remember, if you do reach out to him, let him know that you heard him here on the Trend Report, and that's why you're reaching out. Adrian, thanks again for being here. Thank you for joining us today for this powerful conversation. Go out there and make today great, guys, and we'll see you again right back here in a couple of weeks. Take care, everyone.